Welcome to The Grand Balance, a weekly podcast hosted by two working grandmas navigating the beautiful chaos of work and family. Shout out to Laura Young Shahada, our guest on a previous episode. She shared that she gives her grandchildren the gift of time, and I think she's onto something. We asked the question, what makes a grandma great? And the reoccurring theme is quality time. This will be a fun episode to discuss many ideas we got from younger kids, adolescents, and adults about creating meaningful memories and bonds with their grandmothers.
I'm really looking forward to this episode because as I was thinking through what I did with my grandma, it just brought back such fond memories. One of those is how my grandmother had this rose garden, and it was kind of her specialty. She had the most fragrant roses I've ever smelled, and I can't seem to find roses as fragrant as hers. When I take walks and I see red roses, I always have to smell them. People probably think I'm really crazy because I'm walking my dogs around the neighborhood.
Sniffing around.
I know, but what's that? You know, I'm taking time to smell the roses, literally.
Literally, very literally. That's so funny because my grandma too was very into roses. And to this day, I think of her when I see roses.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Just bringing back all of those memories and other things that we would do together. She was kind of into her garden, not significantly. She wasn't growing a lot of vegetables or anything like that. But I remember she would grow boysenberries, and she'd always, when I'd come over, she'd say, "Go out, pick boysenberries, and we'll have a treat." So I'd pick them, a bunch of them. And then I'd come in and she'd put a little cream or milk with them and a little sugar. And it was a wonderful treat. And I love boysenberries to this day.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Yeah, it's funny when we were asking people about different memories. My sister reminded me, we took road trips with our grandparents. And of course, times have definitely changed. They had a hatchback in the back of their car. So we would take turns, one of us laying up into the hatchback and one of us laying across the back seat, which obviously now you don't really see things like that anymore.
Right.
And we would road trip across the U.S. and just spend nights in motels. And my grandparents would take the bed and my sister and I would be in sleeping bags on the floor. Like, what? But what fun memories of the way to see the U.S. and all the very, very, very cool memories we made with our grandparents.
I think being outside was one thing that my grandma really made sure we did. I know what, and I have pictures of this. It was so cute. She would double Dutch jump rope with us.
Wow, that's impressive, right?
Which I loved. She would do hopscotch with us back in the backyard. She was very active, and I admire her so much for that. And we reached out to some of our friends and asked what memories they have. And one of those memories was spending time in the swimming pool at grandma's. And I know when I was born, my grandmother had a pool, like the only pool in the whole neighborhood. So everybody had to contribute like a nickel and they could come swim just so she could buy the cleaning supplies for the pool.
That's funny.
Yeah, but she loved having everybody around. And sadly, I don't swim well. I should because I started at such a young age. But I think I love that tradition. And I try to do that with my family too. You know, we have pool open many times throughout the year. And I know you have a pool too.
We do. And I also have really fond memories of swimming with my grandparents, more my grandfather. They lived in a condo, so they had like the community pool. And from a very early age, that's where we took our swimming lessons. And he loved to swim. So that was something we always did with him. And I too will associate swimming forever with my grandparents. And funnily enough, my mom did not swim.
Wow.
So that's crazy.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Sharon, you were just mentioning Laura Young Shahada, our previous guest. And as we're recording this, she just sent me a text, and I'm going to put it on our website. It's a reel, and it says, "Grandma's getting ready to watch the grandbabies," and it's Wonder Woman.
Oh, I've seen that one. I've sent it out. It's so
Isn't
funny.
it cute?
And I wish I looked like that.
Oh, I know. But it's true. We're all Wonder Woman, taking care of our grandbabies and trying to create fun and activities outside and all
Well,
that
and the funny
stuff.
thing about that reel is you go from working parent or working person to super grandma, like in a blink of an eye.
Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman, yes.
Yeah, trying to do cool, crazy things with the grandkids. And it's funny because now my grandson, he's 10 months now, but I want to make sure that every time I'm with him, we do something together. We're not just kind of bored, but what 10-month-old can be bored? But I was stressed out about it. So I started Googling, like, what do you do with 9-month-olds? And what do you do? And then I realized, like, that is just silly. But we do lots of fun things. I guess it's fun but I'm introducing him to post office and when I run errands, and I was the first to get him in a cart at the grocery store, in the front. We go for walks, we explore. I talk to him all the time and it's part of his learning, but try to get outside at least every day when I'm with him. Our weather is nice. We can do that, but create activities. And I think just being prepared to do active things, I think is really important.
Well, just exposure to so many new things, because between what we do with them and what the parents do with them, I think like we've taken the little 3-month-old to SeaWorld and that sort of thing. And of course, she's not really watching things, but just the exposure to all the fish and all the cool sights and being around different types of environments, I think is really good.
And talking to them about everything.
Right. Yeah. They say that just talking and reading, their vocabulary increases so quickly.
I had practice before my first grandbaby was born. So my sister, I think I mentioned this before, my sister is a lot younger than me, and she had her child a little later. And so I had the last 7 years to watch my niece. And I would always have something for her to do. I have a craft box in the closet. So if she wants to do crafts, she brings it out from the closet. And when I take her on walks, we would talk, and it was so cute when she was little. She has strong vocabulary anyway, but I think it's from this. We would take walks, and I would always ask her questions. What's that? Or here's what this is. And then on the way back from the walk, I'd test her. What was that again?
So wait, you're taking full credit for her good vocabulary?
Partial credit.
Your sister will love that.
I know. But I wasn't afraid to challenge her a little bit and talk to her about things that people might think are too mature for them to learn, but nothing crazy.
But
like teaching her what a fire hydrant is at a very young age. And so she'd go and she'd say, oh, I learned fire hydrant today. It would always shock me what would come out of this little girl's mouth. But we always talked. And in the stores, we would talk everywhere. So we probably look silly to adults, but I don't care. I was having fun and we were engaged the entire time.
One thing I haven't thought about until someone brought it up to me, because I do talk a lot. Her daughter-in-law is just a very quiet person. And she was concerned because she would go about her activities taking care of her grandchildren and not really talk. And I didn't think about that. And it's almost better to constantly talk, I think, because they are exposed to so much more language. And it must be difficult for someone who just naturally is very quiet, because you do need to talk to kids so much. And I'd never really thought of that scenario because I don't have that problem, but
that's true. Well, that's true for me too. That's why we're doing this podcast. We have lots to talk about.
That's what reminded me when you're talking about talking with your niece. Like, it is so good to help kids with their language development by speaking to them. But if you're a naturally quiet person, you would definitely have to try to change your habits, I guess.
Yeah. And one of the other things that I really admired about my grandma and that has stuck with me is her focus on celebrating. We would always celebrate all of the holidays at her house, and it was so fun. But she wanted to make sure that every occasion was a celebration, even the littlest things. And so it brought a lot of traditions. For example, at Christmas, she had lots of grandkids, and she would have a stocking over the mantle for every single one, and it got to be very large. Up through your 18th birthday, you got a stocking. And we kept the same stocking. And so now I host Christmas Eve for 45 to 65, depending on who can come. And every kid under 18 gets the stocking. And it's silly stuff, but they love it. And this is my way of carrying on something that I loved from my grandma and carrying it on, to the future generations.
Well, that's the disadvantage of a large family, because my grandma also did stockings, but since we're a smaller family, we still do stockings as adults. So So Christmas morning comes and everyone gets their stocking regardless of their age. And
That's cute.
It's fun stuff.
Yeah. Even with the dollar store, it gets a little pricey because you think, oh, I'll put 10 things in here, 15, but times that by 20, then you're getting a little pricey there.
Yeah, it's funny when you're talking about traditions because my mom just did stockings was our gift. So the nice things were inside the stocking or next to the stocking. So it was all kind of rolled into one. But I think that is kind of the definition of a grandma that is great. Developing those meaningful traditions that you can pass on, that generations later, you can explain to the kids, this was started by your great-great-grandmother or your great-grandmother, and it's such a really cool thing. Another thing our family does is the holiday baking, and we use recipes from my grandma, and she made everyone a little cookbook of her special recipes, which is something I treasure because recipes have evolved so much, and it's really nice to have recipes that have gone down hundreds of years and still be able to use them and recreate dishes that she made that were family favorites.
Yeah, and in the Mexican tradition, taking the time and you get all the ladies together and make the tamales, it's a way for everybody to get together in preparation for the holidays. But boy, is that a fun day.
Yeah, that's so cool. Just doing the same things as your ancestors did many years before you.
Yeah. And the nice thing about so far what we've spoken about is it doesn't cost much. I mean, I did talk about the holiday stockings, but for the most part, it's just the time. Even with my niece, for Valentine's Day, she came over. We didn't have anything special to do, my husband and I. So she and I dressed up. I made sure she brought a dress. We did our hair. She had little lipstick on. She was probably 5 or 6. She helped me cook. We brought out the china and we had a beautiful Valentine's dinner, special Valentine's dinner, candlelit for my husband or her uncle. And it was so special. She was so excited, but just little things that you can do.
Out of the ordinary.
Yeah,
for sure. A really, really nice memory that I have of my grandmother that she started that we still do to this day. And you reminded me of it because of Valentine's Day. She would give all of us kids and grandkids, us being the grandkids, Valentine's cards, and you wouldn't sign your name. You would hide it on the card somewhere. And so this is passed down. And to this day, we still continue doing this. I send my kids Valentine's. We hide the names. They send Valentine's to my sister's family and our own immediate family. And it's something that we'll pass down to the grandkids where it'll hopefully go on forever because I think it's such a cool tradition. And everyone in my family knows you get a Valentine's card, you have to search for the name to see who it's from.
Well, I don't get it. Where do you hide it?
Like on the front of the card, you take so my brother-in-law is very creative with this and they yell at me because sometimes my name is too easy to find. But he'll shade in with pencil his name onto
within a flower or in a heart or something?
On the front of the card.
Okay.
So we purposely choose Valentine's Day cards that are conducive to hiding names on them.
Interesting.
You don't just get a blank card with just a little bit of pictures on them because there's no way to hide names.
Yeah. So you're celebrating the holiday, but making it extra fun.
Right. And everyone in our family definitely knows that's the tradition and that's what you do.
That's really neat. I like that story. So Sharon, I know you asked some of your friends as well. Any things some memories that they wanted to share with their grandma?
Well, all of them, of course, were so sweet. But one in particular really struck me because someone had said that every time they went to their grandmother's house to visit, she would have a little box on the table of the Cracker Jack prizes. And her grandmother would say, take them all. Next time you come, it'll be refilled. And I could imagine to a little kid, how thrilling to get all the Cracker Jack prizes, a huge box full of them or a smaller box or whatever it was. I just thought that was such a unique, cool thing to think about your grandma and remember.
Who was eating all the Cracker Jacks, Grandpa?
I guess Grandma and Grandpa were putting away some Cracker Jacks.
And putting away some pounds with that, too. That's funny. Well, we have a M&M jar on our table. It's in a beautiful crystal bowl that we got on our wedding over 30 years ago. And we have to keep that full. It's just something that happens.
I have so many questions about that being in San Diego. How do you not get ants?
I don't know. They just know. It's right on the center of my kitchen table all the time.
See, I'm so
too high to
paranoid
climb up. I don't know.
about ants that I will never leave. I'm thinking I would have like the mason jar completely sealed with them possibly.
Yeah. It's probably not that hygienic because everybody puts their hand in it, but it's okay. I think if you're eating that much candy, you can spare a germ or two.
No, build your immune system.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my philosophy.
But I'll keep it. I'm going to keep that forever.
Yeah. A couple other people, my nieces in particular, one of their fondest memories of my mom, which was their grandmother, was every year they would go over and decorate her Christmas tree for her. And then after they finished decorating the home, they would go to the special diner that my mom really enjoyed. And so it was the same thing year after year. They would go decorate and then they would have dinner at the diner. And I had forgotten about that tradition. And when my nieces reminded me, I thought that was a really sweet thing to do.
Well, what I love is that it's the grandkids giving back to the grandma in that regard.
That's a very good point. It's so sweet.
Yeah.
And again, as you mentioned, you'll notice everything we talk about is pretty much related to time, not what grandparents are buying and spending. Kids really just want to make those core memories and spend the quality time.
And if you share that, then your grandkids know what's important to you and what you like. I've told my kids when I'm old and can't drive myself or I'm in a wheelchair or whatever my limitations are, I love, love, love holiday lights. So I put up all my own holiday lights. I climb up on the roof now.
Oh, yeah.
But at some point, I'm going to have to stop that. I said, please, when I'm really old, please wheel me around and go to Christmas Circle or other places where I can see the holiday lights. That'll be just your gift back to me.
I agree. I also love holiday lights, and I've drugged the kids for years. Every Christmas, we all pile in the car and do a rotation through the county.
Yeah. So hopefully they'll do it. They'll give back, pay it forward.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And because of the time everyone spent together, they do realize what people enjoy doing.
Right.
What really matters.
So some of my other friends and work colleagues chimed in as well. And what's interesting is some of the things that they did with their grandmothers are coming back into style with this younger generation. For example,
I'll say like what?
So for example, sewing. They loved that their grandmothers taught them to sew. And now younger people are into sewing.
I did not know that because my grandmother also taught me to sew, and I have not sewn anything or taught my children to sew. So
yeah, either have I. But these younger generations, they're sewing their own clothes. They're into that
design fashion,
but also not spending a lot of money on commercial items and
probably reflecting their own personal style too, which is really cool.
Yeah, or crocheting or. What is it? Cross stitching?
Oh, my mom was big into cross stitching. Yeah. Which throws me on a tangent, but this is such a meaningful thing. My mom cross stitched stockings for all of us. Oh. And then she had cross stitched when all the grandkids were born. She would cross stitch a thing saying their name and their date of birth and that sort of thing. Well, my aunt had found in one of the closets a half finished cross stitch, and it was all animals, and it was pretty much done. Just a few things needed to be done. So when my granddaughter was born, my aunt finished the cross stitch my mom had started and put in my granddaughter's name and date of birth, and then got it framed and sent it to my daughter. And I can tell you there was many tears shed when she opened that, knowing grandma was actually hanging in the nursery, her work. So that I didn't realize cross stitch was coming back, but definitely a big memory in our family.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. Every time I see it, it just warms my heart so much that she's there watching over the little granddaughter.
Yeah. It's interesting. We were just talking about Wonder Woman a few minutes ago, and I had this silly thing in my head, but I'm going to do it. My grandson's only 10 months, but I cannot wait to play superheroes with him. And I already know I'm going to buy superhero costume for me, and I'm going to go up to the door and I'm going to be a different superhero, like once a week or once a month, and we're going to just have a blast. I can't wait for all of these fun things as they get older to try. Maybe it's bringing my own little kid out in me.
Your family may disown you, but
I'm going to be that crazy lady with my little grandson at the store walking around in superhero costumes.
That is so funny. No, I have not thought about superheroes for many years, although they were a big hit with my son with the capes and all the different costumes. But
yeah, or even, I want to play detective. And it can be a boy detective, or what's the little girl that used to be
Dora the Explorer?
Dora the Explorer.
Dora.
Yes, Dora the Explorer. I want to do that with my grandkids. I'm gonna just be outside with my magnifying glass looking for bugs and stuff. I can't wait.
Yeah, there's so many fun ideas. I hadn't thought about this one for a while, but one of our friends had talked about having her nieces over, and they had planned a big scavenger hunt on their property. And that's such a fun thing, I feel like, to do for so many different age groups, and how you can set it up, because everyone gets involved. You're outside, you can be all over the place, working together, solving the clues. And I think that it reminded me of such a fun thing to do.
Yeah. And I want to bring back all the creative stuff I did with my kids. So you talk about scavenger hunt. For both my kids' 10th birthday, I had survivor parties.
Oh, fun.
And so I had this old map, and I'd burn it and do all this cool, fun stuff. And I can't wait to do it all over again, because it was so fun the first time.
I agree. Yeah, I love a good scavenger hunt too. Well, some of the things I think are tough sometimes is as kids get older and start developing their own interests and friends become a priority. I think that's a harder time to possibly continue spending a lot of time with your grandchildren. And I had looked into it, and I did get some really good ideas. So this might hopefully be helpful to people with kids that are in middle school, high school, that might not be so thrilled listening to stories or playing games. But cooking and baking together, I think, is something that all ages can do, especially as kids get older. They love to eat. So that's a good way to make memories. Outdoor activities, as we discussed, there's so many things to do, active hikes, that sort of thing, sports, involving yourself in sports that they like, or sharing something you like we discussed, the swimming, biking, tennis, golf, yoga. I think those are something that would appeal to a lot of different ages, or get yourself involved in sports that they're participating in.
I think that's so important. If you can be there, show up.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's the same thing. I have so many great memories of my grandparents being involved with our activities.
I know for my son, his grandpa would join my husband, who was retired. They'd sit up at the top of the hill and they'd be chatting. But my dad was always there at my son's games, always, every single week. And it was something very special.
Yeah, it's just making those memories. My mom also flew out many times for baseball. She was often there as a spectator that the kids recognized because she was there so often. And this went on for years. And then at the 12-year-old baseball year, my son's team actually went to the Little League World Series. So my mom went to the Southern California Championships with us up in San Bernardino. And that's when they started getting televised by ESPN, and it was getting serious. And she was way more nervous than I was. And
were they zooming in on her as she's like chewing her nails?
Exactly. They have the signs and all of this. And she had a little sign that she held that said, "That's my grandson," which
Aww.
I have pictures of that, which is so cute.
I love it.
But so she had planned, once they won, to go to Williamsport with us. And then finally we were getting ready to go on the charter to go to the airport. And she's like, "You know what? I can't do this. This is too stressful. I'm going to go home. It's all on ESPN and watch from the comfort of my own home." So she did bail on us at the last part, but it just all those memories of her being there supporting her, we'll never forget those.
Well, she probably saved some embarrassing moments when she's flipping out of the umps and stuff for bad calls. So
exactly. Yeah.
She wanted to get really into it, and she knew she better restrain herself.
Well, and now that you mentioned that, my daughter had said one of her fond memories of my mom, her grandma, was grandma yelling at the TV watching football games and learning some very inappropriate words. So you can imagine that those times were always, you never knew what was going to come out of her mouth.
Yeah. For all our kids and grandkids, I can imagine I am going to be their number one fan. So I will be going crazy.
Just don't get thrown out of a game, please. Did you ever get thrown out of a game? I never did.
I did not get thrown out of a game for my children, but
no.
When I played, when I was younger, it's still on video and they show it every once in a while. My uncle took it. I used to play travel softball, and I got thrown out of the league for throwing a bat, and they told me to pick it up, and I yelled at the umpire because it was the California State Championship, and we lost because of me, and I was so upset. And he's like, you can't play anymore. You're out of here. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm 16. This is my last year anyway. And I threw a tantrum and it's on video. And so I think because I understood that pressure, I've always been really relaxed when my kids play, excited when they're doing good. But when I know they're under pressure, I just keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, same. I never was even close at risk of being thrown out of a game.
Yeah. So
I just wasn't sure about you.
No, but we have some friends that have been thrown out of the game.
I've seen plenty of people thrown out of games.
Yeah.
Also, some other ideas back to the older kids was movies. Some of the really fond memories I have of my grandmother was going to the theater with her. Volunteering together was another really good idea, I thought. Visiting local attractions, amusement parks, zoos, sporting events. Which is a really good idea. And I hadn't thought about that, but like professional sporting events or like local sporting events is a great idea to spend time with older kids if they're interested in that sort of thing.
And it's funny, you had mentioned earlier the cooking with your grandkids. And right now they have Junior Top Chef and all of that. The kids are really into it.
That's true. That does.
So it's very popular. So we're not being old school or, that's something that I'll do, but I'm not really into it, because now it's a big thing.
Well, and it's a good life skill to have for sure. And you learn how to do cool things.
Yeah. And I know some of these things cost a little money, but for the most part, it's just the time. And you reference movies. So my niece loves to go to the movies with her grandmother. And just getting back to one of our latest episodes on the technology, did you hear that one of the new movies coming out from Disney is Toy Story 5?
I did hear that. Is that crazy?
And what is the topic, Sharon? Toys versus technology.
Exactly our topic.
I think we are just in the know right now.
We're on it.
Yeah, we are on all the hot topics. So if Disney is investing millions of dollars to address the topic, it's a good topic.
Well, it's so happy the discussion's out there too, because all of our concerns that we did discuss as far as technology, I'm so happy there's a discussion to hopefully combat some of the problems that were occurring or starting to occur.
Right. And what I love is that as people are starting to listen to what we're talking about on these podcasts, they all have opinions, or they're like, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, or that's important. I didn't realize I should be doing that. Great tip.
Exactly. So please, we love listener feedback. So anything that you have, whether you agree with us or don't agree with us, we love to hear different opinions, and any feedback you have, ideas, comments, anything like that, we appreciate.
We've talked about what our friends or adults have enjoyed from their grandmothers, things that they like to do or have fond memories of. So we're going to close it out with just a few words from the younger generation.
The experts.
And the real experts today on what they love to do with their grandmothers. So be sure to listen, and hopefully it gives you ideas or confirms that you're doing the right thing, grandmas. Keep it up.
Thanks for listening.
Look forward to our next conversation. Bye-bye.
Bye.
What's your favorite thing to do with Grammy?
My favorite thing to do is pick vegetables from our garden. I like cooking with her because she used to be a chef. Going to get frozen yogurt, play in the water, in the swimming pool, and drink water.
My favorite thing to do with Grammy is to make breakfast with her, especially eggs.
What is your favorite thing to do with Grammy?
Everything.
Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe to the podcast so we can continue to grow our community. And follow us on Instagram at Working Grandmas Podcast, on Facebook at The Grand Balance, a Working Grandmas Podcast, and join our LinkedIn group, Working Grandmas. You can also email us at info@workinggrandmas.com or message us through any of our social media platforms.